You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Want to let you know a number of things that we are monitoring at this hour. First of all, I'm trying to route a camera for you here, but I routed the wrong thing. So give me 1 second here as I try to give you a shot of downtown Orlando on this Friday morning. We're seeing some rain coming down there. See some rain on the camera, some raindrops there, and the clouds. You can also see what appears to be a pretty stark dividing line. We are tracking a lot of rain in the area. We're going to talk with Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner in just a couple of minutes about all this, what we can expect from our forecast. We also know there are some communities that are bracing for the potential of flooding in Volusia County. So we will bring you all those details coming up in just a little bit. Let me give you a live look right now inside the U.S. Capitol, where we are expecting to hear from Speaker Mike Johnson any minute now, giving an update on day 3 of the government shutdown, continuing to get reaction from a number of lawmakers as this continues to stretch on. 11:30 is when the Senate floor will open back up for the day, so we may hear some debate from several different lawmakers. We've heard some of that over the past couple of days. We also expect this afternoon around 1:30 for the Senate to take up some procedural votes on the dueling plans that they took a vote on just a couple of days ago. The Republican spending plan, the Democrat spending plan. Unclear if anything has changed, if those vote totals will be any different, or if the government shutdown will come to an end today, because we know many of the issues are still kind of unresolved at this point. But we will see, and we'll see what comes out of this news conference coming up in just a few minutes when we hear from Speaker Mike Johnson. Another national story that we are tracking at this hour, and let me give you a live look outside the a federal courthouse in New York City, where a sentencing hearing is underway for Sean Diddy Combs. This is the case. He was convicted back in July, you may remember. He was convicted of some sex trafficking charges, racketeering conspiracy charges as well, and we are awaiting news on the sentencing. It is federal court, so cameras are not allowed inside, but we are monitoring this and expecting updates. We will bring those to you as we get them. But again, let's give you a live look right now at our downtown Orlando camera as we get ready to head into a rainy weekend. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now in the streaming studio here today. And Brooks, we are getting ready for a pretty rainy weekend.
It really will be, especially along the coast. It's a very interesting setup. We've got this thing called coastal convergence. It sounds like a band from the 90s.
You're not wrong when you bring it up. Like, yeah.
But essentially, we're going to have such a rush of moisture and wind from the coast that when it hits the land, there's friction with trees and just the stuff that makes the land, and it slows down rapidly. And then there's more behind it, so all that air and moisture starts piling up upon itself, converging, and that acts to pretty much squeeze that moisture out of the air and cause heavy rain along the immediate coast. So it's going to be a tale of two cities this weekend and early next week, with a lot of rain at the coast, but comparatively little rain as you head farther inland. It'll still rain in Orlando, it just won't be as frequent or as heavy. And all the rain this weekend will come in waves, so it's not going to rain the whole time. But looking at this Daytona cam, just got done with a downpour there. It literally looked like a tropical storm. Now things are improving, and that's going to be the name of the game as we head into the day tomorrow and Sunday, with rain chances progressively increasing. So again, it's not raining all day, it's just that we'll have this chance for it all day, and Sunday looks to be the max time with about an 80% chance. On top of that, the waves are rough, it's very dangerous, and the rip current risk is going to be pretty extreme, so it's not recommended that you go to the beach. But if you're meeting your student at the bus stop this afternoon, on this Friday, we'll see about 84 degrees and a 50-50 chance at some rain. Not much in the way of thunderstorms, but just some really tropical downpours. All right, it is Friday night, and so let's talk Friday night football blitz here in Central Florida. There will be a 50-50 chance of rain early on, but then as we head into the evening, it'll be a 20% shot. So we'll see the rain chance going down. I don't expect really any delays. Again, not much in the way of lightning, so if it's raining, they can play. It's just if it's thundering, they can't. The game of the week here at Fox 35 is Maitland versus DeLand. All right, so back to that whole coastal convergence conversation. There's a flood watch in effect issued by the National Weather Service for Volusia and also for Brevard counties. That's like Daytona and New Smyrna all the way down to Satellite Beach and down into Indy Atlantic and almost all the way down until you get into the West Palm viewing area. That is for coastal downpours that could amount to more than 4, maybe 5 inches of rain. Now it's going to look like this for today. We're going to have scattered showers coming in, a couple of downpours, maybe a flash of lightning at some point. Most of the rain will be midday through Orlando and then working into areas like Brevard County this afternoon. Overall, though, this is the big picture. We've got high pressure in the mid-Atlantic. It's a nice fall air mass. But around it, clockwise, spinning is an easterly flow. That's going to bump up against this stationary front moving northward. It's going to cause a squeeze play that'll further enhance the easterly flow. On top of that, there's a chance that along that stationary front, we may have a tropical depression form. In fact, there's a chance, maybe up to a 30 or 40% chance, according to our computer models, of that initiation happening near the Bahamas over the next couple of days. So we're talking, look at this, we're on the blob, the NHC blob. So what does that mean? Well, we're not going to have like a wind event or anything like that, but we may have a tropical depression form along that stationary front, and then that'll lift north, further enhancing the rain chances and, of course, the rain intensity. So if we have a tropical depression, you can probably double the numbers on the rainfall forecast. By the way, out in the Eastern Atlantic, there's a 40% chance zone of development. We'll have to track that carefully into mid-October. Let's talk rainfall. Across Florida in the southeast, this is going to be a real October onslaught for the Atlantic coast, a real sand soaker. East winds from Florida all the way up into the Carolinas, resulting in a widespread 3 to 5 inches of rain over the next 5 to 7 days. So this is the forecast, not just for today, not just for this weekend, but through Wednesday. It's the cumulative forecast. So if you get a half inch a day, an inch a day, it does add up. And we could see higher totals in Brevard County, more than 5 inches. A lot of places inland will see considerably less. As I mentioned, once you hit Orlando, it's like 1 to 2 inches over the next 5 days or so. So that's really not a lot. I mean, it's a quarter inch here, a half inch there, which will add up. But the bottom line is our highest chance will be on Sunday at 80%. Rain chances remain high into early next week before finally some drier air works into the region. So, yeah, Garrett, I think the water cooler phrase to impress all your friends this afternoon will be coastal convergence. Now, I'm not talking spring break. This isn't all the college kids converging into Florida, but it's kind of the same concept. It's like driving down I-4 and you hit the Disney exits and then all the cars start piling up onto each other with traffic. So we are the cars. As the moisture comes in, that'll be what comes together and really rings it out and makes for all the rain.
Interesting. All right. Well, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, we appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure as always. Thank you, Garrett.
Now we want to get you live to the U.S. Capitol, where House Speaker Mike Johnson is speaking. You see the Senate Majority Leader John Thune behind him. We'll also expect to hear from him in just a minute. Let's go ahead and listen in as day 3 of the government shutdown continues.
Those resources back to illegal aliens. That's exactly what that highlighted language means. On this exhibit number 2 over here, I feel like I'm back in court. Exhibit number 2, okay? This is the specifics of what that would mean. When we say they want to give $200 billion back to illegal aliens, These are the specifics. If you read the legalese here and the language in the bill on page 57 and what follows, that's what it's talking about. These are all the various provisions in the chart over here. Those are listed in millions. So you see the final total there, $192.8 billion of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to give back to illegal aliens. That's a fact, and nobody can refute it. Now look, what we've done is very simple. We sent over a continuing clean resolution. This is standard practice around here. And all the Democrats who are voting against it in the Senate right now, every single one of them have given impassioned speeches about how you must pass continuing resolutions, you must pass CRs, you should never shut down the government because it's dangerous and destructive and selfish and wrong. Well, suddenly they've changed their tune. We're playing, I invite you all after the press conference to go by the Speaker's office in the hallway there, and you can see the highlight reel of all of them saying this passionately, as recently as March of this last year when Chuck Schumer led his caucus to vote for the same CR. They did it 13 times during the Biden administration in the previous 4 years, but suddenly they won't do it. So everybody has to ask themselves why. It has nothing to do with health care. The subsidies that they're saying is the issue is not the issue. That is an issue for the end of the year. December 31 is when that expires. So Congress has 3 months to negotiate that. Certainly we could work on it in the month of October to find some consensus and figure that out, what reforms there may be necessary to make all that happen. Republicans are committed to the health care of Americans. We have already proven that we are making health care more efficient and effective and more available so that we can bring down cost and premiums and improve quality of care. We put the goods on paper. We're doing that. And the CBO analysis that came out August 25th said that these changes that we put in our bill are doing exactly that. The Congressional Budget Office is not a Republican shop, as you all know. They typically go against what I'm doing, okay, but they had to admit that this is going to make 2.3 ineligible recipients no longer on the Medicaid rolls. It's going to save $185 billion for taxpayers. That's exactly what we promised, and that's what's going to be achieved. But we have more reforms coming to try to fix Obamacare, which is not working for the people. But you need common sense, responsible Republicans who are serious about policy to fix that for the people, and that's what we're working to do. The Democrats are stalling that because they need a political talking point. And why? Because Chuck Schumer, who leads the Democrats, is terrified that he's not going to win back his Senate seat. He's afraid that the Marxist far-left corner of his base is going to challenge him in New York. Maybe many of you have noticed New York is probably going to elect a Marxist for mayor. He's terrified by that development. Chuck Schumer is a far-left progressive politician, but he's not far enough left for this base. And so he's got to show a fight against the president. He's got to show that he's fighting Republicans. And because they're playing political games and they're not doing what he himself said passionately as recently as 6 months ago that must be done, that you passed a standard bipartisan CR, because he needs political cover, he is dragging the American people through this. And who's getting hurt? Women, infants, and children, nutrition programs that are now stalled, veterans' health services that will not be provided, people who are low-income Medicare recipients who receive telehealth and health treatment at home. Many of those programs are not being funded. We have troops and TSA agents and Border Patrol agents who are working without pay, protecting the country. And you have FEMA services, health insurance policies, for example, that are being stalled in the middle of a hurricane season because the Democrats want to play political games and try to obscure the real facts at issue. We challenge them. We challenge them to tell us why they're not trying to give illegal aliens health care again when they put it in their own bill. This is not Republicans playing games. I could have put Republican conservative priorities on the CR and sent it over there, but I didn't. And so when you all ask me, why aren't you negotiating with them, I don't have anything to negotiate. Leader Thune and I can't take off Republican priorities that we put in the CR and say, hey, is that better? Could you vote for that? Because we didn't put them on there in the first place. Why? Because Republicans are being responsible. We're operating in good faith, and we're trying to get the Democrats to do their job, and they won't. Those are the simple facts, and they cannot be obscured. I'm so grateful for the strong leadership of my colleague and partner over in the Senate, and I'd love Leader Thune to give you a little update here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker is right. We have an opportunity to pick up a House-passed bill that, if it passes the Senate, will be sent to the White House, the President will sign it, and the government will reopen. It is that simple and that's straightforward. And that's all we're talking about here. All we need is a handful more Democrats. We have a majority of senators, 55 senators, have already voted for this clean, short-term, nonpartisan CR. As the Speaker said, no policy riders, no gimmicks, nothing in here that benefits Republicans. This is a straight-up 7-week funding resolution, and we need it to keep the government open. And if we don't keep the government open, you'll have all the things that the Speaker just alluded to, all the Americans who are adversely impacted by this government shutdown. Now, this is something, as you all know, as recently as the last administration, during the Biden administration, when the Democrats have the majority here in the United States Senate, the Democrats on 13 different occasions voted for this, a short-term continuing resolution. Now, I have to ask, what's changed? What's different about this? What's different is who's in the White House. That's what it's about. It's all about President Trump and the Democrats needing to pick a fight to satisfy their far-left political base, far-left activist organizations who are the tail wagging the dog right now. That's all this is about. And you have a Democrat leader from New York in the Senate, a Democrat leader in the House from New York, and you have a mayoral race in New York, you've got AOC, you've got all these people that are bringing pressure to bear on what should be a routine, simple, straightforward proposition, and that is a short-term continuing resolution to keep the government funded, which is sitting right now. This is sitting at the Senate desk. We will have a vote another hour or two, and it'll be the 4th time that Democrats will have an opportunity to vote to keep the government open. Now, at some point, reason, good sense, common sense has to take effect here, because that's really what this is. They brought to us, and the Speaker alluded to all the impacts on illegals and free health care programs in this country, a bill loaded with $1.5 trillion in new spending, which includes all these provisions. And they want to load that onto a 7-week continuing resolution to fund the government. Now, what's happening right now when the government is shut down, all the things that we could be doing, the defense authorization bill, which benefits every congressional district, every state across this country, is languishing right now because we are shut down. The other appropriations bills, we have people in the Senate, both Republicans and Democrats, and frankly, Democrats, I think especially, because they haven't had a chance to be heard in the appropriations process for a really long time. Because when Chuck Schumer ran the Senate, we didn't do appropriations bills. We didn't put them on the floor. They marked them up in committee, and then they died. And then he wrote it behind closed doors in his office. That's the difference. We are opening this process up, and one of the things that's not getting done while the government is shut down is an appropriations process that allows us to fund the government the old-fashioned way in the light of day. We aren't working on permitting reform, which should be a bipartisan priority. We aren't working on a farm bill. We got a lot of farm policy this summer in the Working Families Tax Cuts bill, but there's more to do there. Those should be bipartisan things that we could be working together on, along with appropriations. All those things aren't getting done right now because Senate Democrats have chosen to shut the government down. They have an opportunity, a 4th opportunity, 4th time today, 4th time to vote to open up the government and to allow us to do the rest of the work that the American people expects us to do. They have taken hostage the federal government and, by extension, the American people, who are the only losers in this. Everybody's talking about who wins and who loses and who gets the blame. That's not what this is about. This is about what's doing in the best interest of the American people. And what's in the best interest of the American people is keeping the government open and operating so it can continue to work on their behalf.
A few questions? Yeah, right here.
Are you at all concerned that this decision by the administration to block some of these infrastructure projects, to take some of these blue states and target them, that could backfire on the momentum you guys have to try and break the stalemate and open up the government?
So the question is about the executive and the White House and what they're doing in this situation. Everybody needs to understand how this works. When Congress decides to turn off the lights, to shut the government down, it shifts the authority to the executive branch. That's how the process works. The person who has decided to put the White House in that situation is Chuck Schumer, who leads the Democrats, the 44 who keep voting to keep the government from opening up. They're voting to shut it down. So what happens in that situation? Whoever is the president, whoever is sitting in the White House, and their staffs at the Office of Management and Budget are given an unenviable task. It's a regretful situation. They have to then determine, since the spigots have been effectively turned off and there's no more money coming in, they have to then prioritize, triage effectively, federal spending. They have to look at all of that and say, you know, which things are deemed essential and which are non-essential, which priorities, policies, and personnel must be kept to keep the government operating, and which are less of a priority. So whomever is sitting in the White House gets to then apply their lenses of review. We happen to have a Republican, a conservative administration. We're very grateful for that. We're limited government conservatives. We think the government's too big. We think the federal government is too big. It does too many things, and it does almost nothing well. And so it serves the taxpayers to send less of their hard-earned money to Washington and keep more in their pockets. That's what we're advancing through the One Big Beautiful Bill and all the legislative priorities that we achieve. But see, sometimes Democrats, not sometimes, all the time, Democrats don't agree with that because they love big government. I mean, listen to them. They want the government to control every aspect of your lives, and they need all of your hard-earned dollars to do that. In fact, they'd like to take them all. That's what the socialists are arguing for. That's what the Marxists believe. We believe the opposite. So here's this situation. Here's the president, the current occupant of the White House, that's been given this opportunity by Chuck Schumer. And he's a limited government conservative. He's looking at that and saying, gee, you know, this is inefficient, this is ineffective. And we'd never get Democrat votes to limit that because they never vote to limit government, ever. It's against their religion. But he has that opportunity now to say, this is a program that would serve the American people if it were not funded, because government would be more efficient and effective, and that serves everyone. So they're going to make those decisions. Now, are they taking great pleasure in that? No. Is he trolling the Democrats? Yes. I mean, yes, because that's what President Trump does, and people are having fun with this. But at the end of the day, the decisions are tough ones. And I've met with him. I talked yesterday at length with Russ Vought, who's the director of the Office of Management and Budget. Russ takes no pleasure in this. Russ wants to see a smaller, more efficient, more lean, effective federal government as we do, but he doesn't want people to lose jobs. He doesn't want to do that, but he has, that's his responsibility. So he's very carefully, methodically, very deliberately looking through that to see which decisions can be made in the best interest of the American people. That's his obligation, and that's his real desire. The president takes no pleasure in this, but if Chuck Schumer is going to give Donald Trump the opportunity to determine what the priorities are, he's going to exercise that opportunity, and that's where we are. Chad.
Square something for me here. How can you say that they take no pleasure in this, and then the next minute say, oh, they're just having fun and trolling people? This is a government shutdown. On one hand, you say this is very serious, that people's jobs are on the line. The other hand, you say, oh, this is just fun and games and they're trolling.
So the effects are very serious on real people, real Americans. We support federal employees who do a great job in all these different areas, but what they're trying to have fun with, trying to make light of, is to point out the absurdity of the Democrats' position. And they're using memes and all the tools of social media to do that. Some people, find that entertaining, but at the end of the day, the decisions are hard ones, and I'm telling you, they're not taking any pleasure in that. Yes, Jake.
The Democrats are saying they would like you and the leader to put in writing that you want, how you'll handle the Obamacare stuff.
So Jake is asking the Democrats' latest demand. Apparently, I haven't heard that, but they want. They want us to put in writing how some of these unresolved questions will be resolved. Here's the problem. Some of the issues that they're bringing to the table and they're demanding immediate, easy answers for are not easy answers, and they take a long time to deliberate. That is the process. This is a deliberative body and a very large one. We got 435 over there and 100 over here. We can't snap our fingers and he and I and two other leaders in a room go, oh, well, this is the resolution. That's not how it works. So what we're trying to do to buy the extra time to get to November 21st is to give both chambers and this whole body 7 more weeks to figure that out. So it's not an easy solution. They know that very well. They know it as well as we do, but they're using that as a red herring because they want to drag this along so they can get political points. Yes.
Speaker Mike Johnson taking questions right now on day 3 of the government shutdown. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Garrett Weimer here, and this is Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a Republican from South Dakota, speaking with House Speaker Mike Johnson about the government shutdown. This is going on live right now inside Statuary Hall at the U.S. Capitol. Let's go ahead and listen in.
I want to have conversations.
The president said that this is an unprecedented opportunity to make cuts to programs. Do you see that as an unprecedented opportunity, and is that helpful toward these bipartisan negotiations? You mentioned you only need a handful more Democrats.
Well, I mean, as the speaker pointed out, when you're in a shutdown situation, you have to manage the government. And any administration is going to make decisions based on their priorities. Figure out where to move money from here to here, this agency, this department, these employees. That's the situation the Democrats have put the administration in. Now, to your point, I mean, I think they're going to make decisions that are consistent with their priorities. And yes, they're going to have a different political view of the world than the Democrats might have, but that's what the Democrats have wrought by doing this. They are allowing the administration to do the very thing that back in March they said they didn't want to give them the authority to do, and that's to make decisions just like that. But that's what's going to happen. And again, why I'm at a loss to explain the strategy behind this, other than it generates contributions and activist energy support from the far left of the Democrat Party. If you're a Republican or a Democrat here in the Senate or in the House for that matter, who actually wants to get results and get things done, you're losing that opportunity by keeping the government shut down, and you're also handing the administration an opportunity to do things that probably in most cases you're not going to agree with.
Last question. Is out with a new poll that shows overwhelming support, including among Republicans, to extend the Obamacare subsidies. I know you both said you want to reform them, so do you commit to doing something to address those subsidies so that insurance premiums don't spike for Americans in
Republicans commit to continue the work that we've already been doing and demonstrating to bring down costs and improve quality of care. We are committed to that, and we will do whatever is necessary to make it happen. This is one of many issues that have to be deliberated and discussed through our process. What we're asking the Democrats to do, I'll close as we began, please open the government so we can do that work, so that all the members of both chambers can be here to do the work, to legislate and to deliberate. They've stopped our ability to do that with these political antics, and we hope it ends. Thank you all for being here.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson, walking away after taking a number of questions and speaking to reporters there about the government shutdown. We do know that another vote is expected this afternoon, where we expect procedural votes first. I'll have to get the ball rolling on those dueling plans, the Republican spending plan and the Democrat spending plan. But that's expected around 1:30, those votes this afternoon. The floor of the Senate opens at 11:30, so it will be open soon, and we'll monitor that as well to see if anyone else speaks on the floor of the Senate about the government shutdown. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus and give you a live look in Orlando at our International Drive camera in the tourist district. And the weekend off to a rainy start. We talked about that just a little bit ago with Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, who said this is going to be the setup for us for the weekend. So get used to that. It is certainly not the most beautiful view of our great Central Florida area here, but this is a sight we're going to see for the next couple of days while we are in this setup. And because of that, we know there are some communities who are bracing for potential flooding. Fox 35's Amanda Ruiz was in Volusia County earlier today talking about how they're getting ready for this rainy weekend.
Yeah, Volusia County has seen extreme weather conditions. We've had heavy rain, lots of waves, and also strong winds. Just take a look at this. Daytona Beach is dealing with beach erosion because the waves are coming up to the sand and eating it away. The heavy rain has already started to impact roads. Here in Volusia County, one road near the entrance of Tomoka State Park is said to be fully underwater. City leaders making the call to close the road until further notice. And this area isn't alone. All of Central Florida is about to feel the impacts of this rain. Apopka is also expecting some flooding. Lake Apopka Wildlife is set to temporarily close now until Sunday. Officials say they recently completed some road work and the rain could damage those improvements. And in Mims, people are pumping water out of their yards because of how heavy the rain got. Officials say they will be monitoring the drains to make sure they don't clog. So if you're driving around during these heavy rainstorms, you really need to pay attention to the roads and what's on it. That water, as it builds up, becomes extremely dangerous. So I'm going to say it again, like we always do, turn around, don't drown. Reporting in Volusia County, Amanda Ruiz, Fox 35 News.
Certainly something to pay attention to and be aware of just as we get ready for what is going to be a rainy weekend. Yesterday was the 5th annual Save Our Kids Forum looking at America's opioid crisis. This is an event put on by Victoria's Voice Foundation, which was founded by David and Jackie Siegel. We have talked to the organization a number of times here on our show, and they do a lot of work to raise awareness and try to prevent others from dealing with the tragedy like they went through, losing their daughter, naming that foundation after her. They tried to turn their loss into this advocacy to help fight against the ongoing opioid crisis. So yesterday was the Save Our Kids Forum. It was held at the Westgate Lakes Resort and Spa in Orlando. They had a number of speakers, a panel discussion as well that covered a number of topics. One of the speakers was Seminole County Sheriff Dennis Lima, who talked about prosecuting drug cases, talked about the use of Narcan and how that is helping fighting back against drug cartels. But he began his remarks by speaking to Jackie Siegel about how she has continued to push forward in the aftermath of losing not just their daughter that kind of spurred this advocacy on in the first place, but also losing her husband David in this past year.
This year, you endured the heartbreaking loss of David and your sister Jessica, yet you continued to stand here showing what resilience and faith looks like in the face of grief. Your courage gives strength to families across this nation who are walking through their own pain. And on a personal note, I consider it a great privilege to serve as a member of the Board of Directors, Victoria's Voice Foundation, standing shoulder to shoulder with you in this fight. Nationwide, it is estimated that first responders alone have saved more than 100,000 lives through the use of an opioid antagonist. That is 100,000 sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters who are alive today because somebody had the right tool in their hand at the...
Good morning to all of the Swifties out there.
This year, you endured shoulder with you in this fight. Nationwide, it is estimated that first responders alone have saved more than 100,000 lives through the use of an opioid antagonist. That is 100,000 sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters who are alive today because somebody had the right tool in their hand at the right moment of time. The Sinaloa and the Jalisco New Generation cartel are the two primary drivers of fentanyl trafficking from Mexico into the United States. Their operations are sophisticated, violent, and ruthless. They use chemical precursors from overseas, manufactured in clandestine labs, and push their product across our border with the goal of profit and unprecedented addiction. They do this with complete disregard for the cost of human lives. And I'm proud to share that these organizations have now been designated as terrorist organizations, and rightfully so. Those who deal profit from poison in our communities are not just selling drugs, they are committing murder. And in Seminole County, to the best of my knowledge and data, we lead the state of Florida and possibly even the nation in prosecuting drug dealers for first-degree murder when their actions result in the death of somebody else.
That was Sheriff Lima speaking at that forum yesterday. This is a live look right now at the floor of the U.S. Senate. That is Senator Chuck Grassley, who is a Republican from Iowa, and also the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who is speaking right now on day 3 of the government shutdown. We'll continue monitoring the Senate floor, get you back inside there as things develop. Well, a big day for all you Swifties out there. The Taylor Swift dropping her new album, The Life of a Showgirl, came out tonight at midnight. You might be a little tired if you stayed up late to listen to it. I listened to it a couple times on my run this morning, but there have been a lot of fun events around town, ways to celebrate that. More to come today as well. Fox 35's Marley Capper was out at Park Ave CDs. They had a midnight release party last night, and also she talks a little bit about how Swifties can celebrate together this weekend.
Good morning to all of the Swifties out there, although I imagine a lot of them are sleeping. It came out really late last night, but that didn't stop everyone around the world really from pausing everything they were doing to listen. I've listened to it 4 times this morning, so we're really excited to be here. They had a wonderful launch party last night, so I'm going to let Langston go ahead in front to show you how great their shop is here. We're just right in Orlando near the Winter Park, Baldwin Park area, and I would love to introduce to you to Robert. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. Welcome back.
Thanks for having us. Okay, so last night you guys had an epic launch party. You guys had like a runway going for outfits and crowned a winner. Talk about the energy last night.
Yeah, it was great. Everybody's so excited. The fans always know how to have a good time. We did the showgirl themed costume party. We had a friendship bracelet station, photo ops. Yeah. It was
incredible.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's walk this way so we can kind of give everybody the grand reveal of where the record is. So you were telling me on this wall over here is where you guys kind of roll out your new album. So kind of explain that.
Yeah, this is just where we display the week's biggest new releases, all the new stuff that's coming out. We try to put it all in one location.
Of
so
course.
Everybody knows exactly where they need to go to get what they need.
Totally. And we'll keep walking so we can show you guys where the CDs are. How many calls have you guys gotten leading up to this? Like, are you going to have her stuff?
Yeah, plenty of calls, always. Yeah, whether they're asking about the event we had planned, or what our stock situation is going to look like, because Taylor does have the tendency to sell out.
She does. She does that a lot. Do you guys are good?
Well stocked, yeah. We're
well stocked. So if you're looking for a local place, a local business that you would like to support, there's 2 spots. You can find her CD right here, and then again on the wall you can find her record. Can you talk about why it's so important for people to support local shops?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We're surrounded by the big box stores. You can get Taylor's stuff at any of the bigger department stores, but we're local. We include the community. We try to bring in other vendors and other organizations that make sense to spread the wealth.
Awesome. All right, well, come check out their shop here. Come say hi to Robert, and here you guys can get your The Life of a Showgirl CD. We're really excited.
A lot of excitement for that today. Well, coming up on Fox 35 News Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about the theme parks with our theme park experts, Theron White and Drew Smith. That's coming up next, right here on Fox 35 News Plus. So keep it here on Fox Local and YouTube.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look at International Drive in Orlando on this Friday morning. Definitely not raining as much as it was. Might still be seeing a few raindrops out there. It is going to be a little bit of a wet weekend, something to be aware of. But let's talk theme parks on this Friday as we head into the weekend and bring in a couple of our parks VIPs here. We're talking about Theron White, the lead publisher of EYNTK.info, and Drew Smith. You know him as Drew, the Disney dude. And guys, always good to see you. We appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus today.
Always happy to join.
All right, first thing, before we talk about the theme parks, Theron, we were just talking about Taylor Swift, and I heard there is a Taylor Swift themed treat that you can get at Disney Springs.
That is correct. For this weekend only, it is called the Life of a Dough Girl Donuts. It is going to be an orange donut that you can get at Everglazed Donuts and Cold Brew at Disney Springs. They've also got a drink there called the Curtain Call Shimmering Blood Orange Refresher. Everglazed Donuts at Disney Springs likes to do a lot of themed different donuts. Earlier this year, I know we had talked about their cheeseburger themed one. So now we've got this one. We've got a Taylor Swift one. So if any of our Swifties out there want to go get some donuts, you get it this weekend only at Everglazed.
It sounds pretty good.
Oh, orange theming and then the refresher. I might have to go run out there and grab one.
No doubt about that. All right, so let's dive in a little bit. I know there's a lot to talk about, specifically when it comes to Disney. We've got a long list of topics here. One of the things, I know Disney recently announced their ambassadors team for the next couple of years. Drew, what do we know about that?
Yeah, so this is something that I wanted to highlight because I think that for me and Theron, we like focusing on, the cast that really make Walt Disney World operate every single day. And we were fortunate enough to be invited out to the reveal event where they announced that Kylie Withers and Felicia Blake, as you guys are seeing on screen right now, will be the 2026-2027 Walt Disney World Ambassador team. And if you guys aren't familiar, the Ambassador program actually was started by Walt Disney himself 60 years ago as a way to, whenever Disneyland was going through its 10th anniversary celebrations, he needed someone to talk to the press because the man was so busy. Here we are 60 years later. This is our team for the next 2 years as the resort goes through so much transformation. So wanted to give them a big shout out, a big congratulations as they'll be starting at the beginning of January.
Yeah, and Theron, what does this mean as far as what their kind of role looks like moving forward?
Yeah, so the ambassador team are always people that are going to be cast members that are taken from that actual resort. So it doesn't just happen at Walt Disney World, it's over in Tokyo and Shanghai and Paris, obviously here in Orlando and Disneyland itself. It is crazy. This ambassador program is older than Walt Disney World as an entire resort. So these cast members are going to be handpicked out of the 80,000-ish cast members that work here in Florida, and they're going to represent those cast members not only at media events, but for community outings. If Disney's doing something like with Make-A-Wish, they'll go and kind of represent the Walt Disney Company there. They do stuff all over the world, but they're really to represent the 80,000 cast members and the projects that are happening specifically at the Florida site. It's a massive honor. These cast members, I can't imagine the level of interviews that they have to go through to get this. But once they're in there, the next 2 years of their life is radically changed. As they're going all over the place, they're learning about the company, and they've already started into their training. They're going to have training from right now all the way up until January, where they officially take over for the next 2 years.
Well, let's talk a little more about food. We talked about donuts, and now I'm realizing how hungry I am. But y'all both had the chance to check out a new restaurant. Talk to us about it, Theron.
Yeah, so this is going to be a restaurant at the Coronado Springs. It's Toledo. It's going to be on the rooftop of that resort. If you have never been to the Coronado Springs, it is one of Disney's moderate resorts, but it really almost leans towards a deluxe. It's a very, very nice location. And on their rooftop is a Michelin recommended restaurant with some really, really good food. We got invited out to go and try some of their options. I had actually went there on the very first week that it opened pre-COVID. And I hadn't been there in a while. I kind of forgot how amazing the views were and how fantastic the service was. So going back, I got to try some new menu items and do that. If you didn't know, Walt Disney himself actually worked on a project with Salvador Dali, and it was never released. When this project was discovered, the Walt Disney team, I should say, went in and found that project, and it really inspired not only this expansion to the hotel, but the restaurant and the lounge and everything upstairs. So this is not just a really cool restaurant, but it's a restaurant that celebrates Walt Disney himself, Salvador Dali, and of course, amazing Spanish-inspired food.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Drew, what did you like about it? What really stood out to you?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was actually literally just about to talk to that. So you're giving me a perfect layup here. But one of the big things that I really wanted to take away from this is why was Disney inviting us out to check out this restaurant? So we actually talked to the head chef and we kind of walked through the process of my favorite thing that they talked about was the desserts and how one of the desserts we tried was kind of like a creme brulee and it was on the lighter side. But then once you get to the more of the dark chocolate, how it gets to those stronger, darker tastes. And just like the amount of care and effort that goes to even a dessert offering at a restaurant like this. And I think you can kind of even connect that back to just Disney as a whole, how storytelling is always at the front. I'm not a big foodie when it comes to Disney, so I was hesitant to even go to this event, but I'm glad that I did, kind of just being in that environment with other creators and hearing from the people who really work on these menus. Like Theron said, it's authentic Spanish style at an authentic resort. So just kind of being in that environment and getting to try all those foods, going through all of the menu options from the appetizers to the entrees to desserts. It was a very fun experience. And also, like Theron mentioned, the fact that you're on the 16th floor of this resort, part of the experience and part of the price, in my opinion, is just the incredible views and the atmosphere of the resort itself.
Theron, what was the best thing you ate there?
Well, I got, let's see. I mean, it might have been the lamb that I got. That was really good. Whenever I go to a restaurant that's higher end like that, I try to pick something that I myself wouldn't make at home. Like I can try and make a steak. I can figure that out. I can do pastas. Lamb, other options like that, I steer clear of because I feel like I'm going to mess them up and that's already more expensive. So I tried that. I enjoyed it, but the whole meal was pretty good. I like the desserts as well. They let us sample basically the entire dessert menu. So I had to be wheelbarrowed out, but it was very tasty.
Drew, what was your favorite food item?
I was surprised at how much I loved the octopus. I was the octopus itself, how it was prepared and the sauce on it. It was great. So I'm a big seafood person. I love sushi. So when the octopus was brought out, I definitely wanted to try it, but it definitely exceeded my expectations.
All right. So a wide range of stuff there. I like that. Now let's talk because we know the Disney license plate that we have here in Florida. We see it all the time. Theron, you got one right there. Theron, you got two right there. I like the EYNTK one. And they hit a milestone, we just learned. Theron, talk to us about that.
Yeah, Disney, when they sold these license plates, it's not just, hey, I like Disney and I want to put Disney on the back of my car. When you go and buy these specialty license plates, some of that money is actually going to go to the Make-A-Wish company here in Florida. So you are granting wishes for kids to not just go to Walt Disney World, but whatever that kid's wish is for the program. Disney has now raised $5 million through this program. So yeah, you're getting a license plate. And yeah, it's a cool add-on for your car, but you're actually making a difference when you do that. And I mean, $5 million is a lot of wishes that can be made, especially because Disney's already giving out tickets and doing stuff like that. So that's additional money just to really help kids. And I feel like that's the best possible way you could do it. I mean, you got to pay for a license plate anyway. This is a cool one, and you're doing it for a good cause.
Yeah, it's really cool. And Drew, I know you were saying that one of the kids who recently had a wish granted was someone from Melbourne.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to share these photos. As you guys are seeing on screen right now, this is Maddie, and her family actually got to come fulfill her wish recently here at Walt Disney World. And Walt Disney World shared these photos. A lot of the kids, they really want to meet these princesses and kind of have that royal experience, which is just perfect for a Disney park. And the fact that Disney will go out of their way to really do those special things to where they're not just like, hey, come out to Walt Disney World, here's some tickets, go have fun. These are specially crafted experiences for these kids so that these memories really stand out for the rest of their life. And even earlier this year, we saw this massive princess celebration over at Disney's Contemporary Resort where they brought in, I think it was over 50 or around 50 families. And I really love seeing these stories about Disney and Make-A-Wish, and that's why I always want to talk about it on a mainstream broadcast like this. I think that we could all agree the world needs a little bit more of positivity in it. So seeing that this $5 million has led to over 600 wishes being granted, that put a giant smile on my face, and I knew we had to mention it.
And that's one of the things that makes, I think, Disney so special, right? I mean, we talk about the magic, and then when you see things like that and the impact that it can have on people and put the smiles on their face. I mean, Theron, that's what it's all about.
I completely agree. The fact that Disney can not only make that happen, but they've worked with Make-A-Wish. Walt Disney World itself is one of the #1 Make-A-Wish contributors on the planet. They offer wishes all the time. When I used to be a cast member at Walt Disney World, there's actually special passes that they give out to kids that are with the Make-A-Wish program. It lets them skip every single line. They don't have to worry about Lightning Lane. They don't have to worry about scheduling stuff. They make it as easy as possible from the family. So from an outsider perspective now, seeing all that money that's being donated, and from the insider perspective, when I was a cast member, I can be very honest when I say that Disney really, really cares about this program, and they put a lot of effort behind it.
All right, and let's talk a little bit about Epcot. I know there's a lot going on right there now with the International Food and Wine Festival, which is always a hit. And we're also coming up on the reopening of Spaceship Earth. Drew.
Yeah, so this is one of those routine refurbishments that I did want to mention because I actually talked to you, Garrett, about it a few months ago whenever Spaceship Earth first closed back in August. But yeah, this is a routine refurbishment. So if some of you guys are thinking, well, what did Disney do to Spaceship Earth? They're really just improving the quality of the attraction experience. You're not going to see any major updates or changes here, but Spaceship Earth is reopening on October 25th. Yesterday morning, I was on the Walt Disney World website, went on to Spaceship Earth, and the attraction hours are posted beginning October 25th. So now we're going to have that extra capacity back in Epcot on top of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind on standby, Test Track 3.0 on standby, now Spaceship Earth. So always great to see standby lines, at least in my opinion. And Spaceship Earth is just so classic, beloved, right at the front of the park. So it's great for all the locals and all the general families visiting Walt Disney World in the near future.
Yeah, it's one of those iconic things, Theron, that everyone knows what it is, and you see it when you first walk into the park. And also one of those things that sometimes can be a good little break to get you out of the heat.
I completely agree. When we used to come here every single year as a family, my sister Charlie was obsessed with this ride. I kid you not, we would go on this more than 5 or 6 times a day. And my mom was like, look, it's in the air conditioning. We get to sit down. There's usually not more than a 20-minute wait. And so she would take my sister on there every time. And we would just go around and, hey, go again and again and again. It tells a fun story. I like that it's OG Epcot and it's got some of that, original Epcot storytelling. I'm glad it's back. I'm glad it wasn't too long of a refurbishment either.
Yeah, certainly good news. And let's wrap up here by talking a little bit about a special celebration for the Sumatran tiger, the new Sumatran tiger cub at Animal Kingdom. Drew, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, this one we also had to mention because it's just fun, it's happy, and Boxo, the little tiger here, we've really seen him grow up. This is something that I really love how Disney has handled Boxo's life, because back when he was first born over a year ago, we saw this series on YouTube called Tiger TV Tuesdays, where every week they give us a little behind the scenes look as to Boxo's development, how he was kind of being raised behind the scenes by this incredible animal team over at Disney's Animal Kingdom. And just the other day, Boxo celebrated his first birthday. And what's sad about the species of tigers is that it's a critically endangered species. So not only is it awesome to, walk into a theme park of Walt Disney World and see these incredible animals out and about, but the fact that this is actually, an incredibly important thing for this animal species as a whole, and that Disney is so committed to keeping these animals alive. So just the fact that this is not only a celebration of Boxo's first birthday, but a species of the Sumatran tiger, we had to mention it, and he's just so handsome, so adorable, just a great little guy that you can see over at the Jungle Trek right next to Cali River Rapids.
All right, do y'all have plans this weekend to head to the theme parks?
We'll see. Yeah.
All right, well, Theron White and Drew Smith, always good talking with you. We appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. We are nearing the noon hour here on day 3 of the government shutdown. We just heard from Senator Chuck Schumer. Let's go ahead and listen in. I believe he has wrapped up his remark. He has. He was just speaking there a moment ago. We will try to bring those to you. But we are seeing that the Senate floor is open. And another vote expected in about an hour and a half, around 1:30 is when they are expected to vote on the funding plans. Like I said earlier, unclear if anything has changed, what will happen about that. Senator Schumer, Leader Schumer, was just talking about the ACA tax subsidies, which has been a center point of the Democrats' argument for this government shutdown, wanting to negotiate those, extend those tax credits, which are set to expire at the end of the year. Now, we talked about this yesterday with Congressman Maxwell Frost, Democrat from Orlando, and he was on our show here yesterday. Actually joined us in our studio, our streaming studio here. So if you missed that and would like to see more of that, you can find that right now on Fox Local and fox35orlando.com. We've talked to a number of our congressional leaders this week. We talked with Congressman Frost and Darren Soto on the Democratic side. We talked with Congressman Randy Fine on the Republican side earlier this week as well. So continuing to track that as we now head into the afternoon on this Friday. So we're still monitoring the Senate floor. We'll get you back inside the chamber there as things develop. We are also monitoring, trying to get a feed for you here from Michigan, where we expect in the next little bit police to give an update on the shooting at the Mormon church there that happened on Sunday. That we do expect police to release body camera video as well from that during that. So we are hoping, I can't make any promises, hoping to get a feed of that for you, but we are still standing by for that. So we will try to bring that to you live if it does begin. Controversy in Palm Bay last night. It was a packed meeting there as the council talked about what to do about social media posts from one of the council members there, Chandler Langevin. He has come under fire for some of his posts, specifically this week about the Indian American community. So a state senator, Debbie Mayfield, sent is basically requesting that they, hold on, I'm getting a tone from one of my feeds there. All right, take care of that. Sorry about that. If that hurt your ears a little bit, it kind of hurt mine a little bit. But we're talking about this controversy in Palm Bay. Senator Debbie Mayfield, who is wanting the governor to suspend this council member. And that went before the council last night, where they voted 4-1 to send a letter to the governor basically asking for that suspension. The only council member to vote against that was Councilmember Langevin himself, who doubled down during his remarks and said, basically, go ahead and vote for those because I almost want you to, was his quote there. We'll get into that in just a little bit because I did just get this feed for the update in Michigan, where they're giving an update on that deadly church shooting. So let's go ahead and listen in here. This is the in Ground Blank Township in Michigan, Scott Bennett, the township supervisor, who is speaking right now. News conference began just a couple of minutes ago. We just got this feed. We are also expect to see some body camera video from police response to it. So let's go ahead and listen in.
There are no fees paid to any organization involved with this fund, which includes representatives of Grand Blanc Township, our police department, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc that will be distributing those funds. Unfortunately, we have become aware of fraudulent activity or scams that are working, and we're working to stop them. But rest assured, our Victims Compensation Fund is a secure method for people to give. In addition to the Victim Compensation Fund, several foundations, including the C.S. Mott Foundation, Community Foundation of Greater Flint, and the Alga Foundation are working together to make sure that every victim of this tragedy, including our first responders, get the help they need. If you know someone that needs help, please contact my office at 810-424-2692 or a member of church leadership. If you know someone who needs help, please send them our way. Thank you for making sure that we focus on helping the actual victims of the situation. Second, we want to invite everyone to an important community gathering next Tuesday evening, October 7th at 7 p.m. The Grand Blanc Better Together Community Reflection event will provide an opportunity to respectfully gather in support of all people affected by this tragedy. This non-denominational, non-political gathering will allow us to support the victims and their families and friends, first responders, medical personnel, and our entire community. It'll be an evening of healing, remembrance, and support. The event is being organized by our township, the City of Grand Blanc, the Grand Blanc Community Schools, and the Grand Blanc Chamber of Commerce. It'll feature a number of speakers, so please make plans to join us on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Grand Blanc High School at Don Batchelor Field. The gates are being opened at 6 p.m. with our program underway at 7. We have shuttles for transportation. Please check out our website for further information. Thanks again for everything that our community has done to support us, and we're coming together and proving in the process that indeed we are Grand Blanc strong. Thank you. And now I'd like to have Chief Rennie join us here.
We will never forget this incident, but I promise that we will not let this define Grand Blanc. We will strive and we will be better together. I'd like to thank the media that's present today. You've gave us space, you've allowed us to grieve, and I appreciate that. Our condolences go out to everyone in this nation who has been affected by this particular incident. And we appreciate the outpouring support and the compassion that we have seen our community come here together. It's important to me to continue to have the trust within this community, and I believe in being very transparent as well. So I have some new information that I want to provide you today. That's part of the purpose of this press conference today. So originally I gave you some times. I gave you that we had responded within 30 seconds and that assailant was found deceased by our officers within 8 minutes. After time, I've had some chance to review the body camera footage. I've also had to review the call logs. And what we found is from the time that the call for service went out to our officers, this incident ended much shorter than 8 minutes, 3 minutes and 43 seconds. I'm going to give you a new timeline now. 10:25 and 32 seconds, Genesee County 911 receives their first 911 call stating that the caller had been shot in the stomach. 10:25:48, so that's within 16 seconds. Dispatch puts out to our officers and they begin their response. 10:27 and 46 seconds, Michigan Conservation Officer arrives on scene. That's a 1 minute and 58 second response time. 10:28 and 54 seconds, our Grand Blanc Township Officer arrives on scene and exits the vehicle. That's a 3 minute, 6 second response time. Now, I'm about to get to the video. I will not release the officers' names at this time. It's a current investigation is being conducted by the Michigan State Police. That's standard protocol within the state of Michigan that all officer involved shooting go to the state police. What they do, they review the reports, they review witness statements, they get all the digital evidence, they compile that, and then they submit that to the prosecutor's office. We are not responsible for charging officers. That is completely up to the prosecutor's office. As the officers stand right now, both of them are on paid administrative leave, meaning that they are not actively going out and responding to calls for service. Now, what you're about to see is an unedited version of the events that took place that day. It's a brief 47-second video. It has been shortened down. The reason why it's been shortened down is for the sake of this press conference. What you would see prior to the officer's response is him just responding inside his vehicle. Afterwards, for this video ending, he gets up and close and personal with the deceased, and this is not the time nor the place to review that video at that point. We have to remember people are first, and the assailant also has families that are suffering and victims as well. So what you're about to see here is two officers running to the sounds of gunfire to save lives. Very courageous actions. This is what law enforcement is trained to do, and this is how law enforcement should respond to these incidents. That's what we swear an oath to protect and serve. You're going to hear a barrage of shots being fired, several of them, in the northwest part of the parking lot of the church. Our officers then immediately start running towards that. You'll hear two additional shots, which we believe at this time are from the conservation officer. You'll also see to the left of the body camera that there is a member from the congregation that's also running that way with a handgun. He does not fire his weapon. You'll hear several loud verbal commands. Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop it now. The subject refuses to do that, and then at that time our officer fires at least 8 shots. IT, if you could turn down the lights and play the video, please.
I got your back there, man. Yeah, stay there. Shoot him. Get back, get back. Drop the gun now. Drop it. You good? Concio, you good?
If you could replay it one more time, IT, please.
No, come on. Sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me next. I just closed it. Hold on.
IT, they're going to receive a copy of this afterwards, okay?
Okay, I can play it right now.
No, forget it. This is the response that law enforcement needs to do. So we quickly responded. It's a hard video to watch, I know that. However, I want to touch base on our officers. The reason why we put this out is so we could all begin to heal. I know that we've received a lot of video requests through the media to get this video out. We saw no need about 3-4 weeks or whenever this officer is cleared to reopen the wounds. So we wanted to be transparent, get this out, so now we could all begin to heal. What we've done for our officers, we brought in Oakland County's peer support team. We've also brought in counselors. Again, I want to remind the public that the care center is open for you until 8 p.m. tonight over at the Genesis Conference Center. Thank you.
Go ahead and see me over here, and we'll get you a copy, okay? We're not taking any questions at this time, so if you guys want to see me over here, we'll get you a copy. Thank you.
At a news conference wrapping up after they released body camera video showing the police response in the aftermath of that church shooting in Michigan. They also gave a new timeline saying that an entire incident seemed to happen in about 3 minutes 43 seconds from the time of the first 911 call. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, live look at the floor of the U.S. Senate. While we were listening to that briefing in Michigan, you saw Senator Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois, who was speaking about as the government shutdown continues into this day 3. Again, we do expect votes in about an hour and 15 minutes. We also expect to hear from the White House. They are scheduled to hold a press briefing this afternoon at 1 o'clock. But I do want to get us back to what I was talking about just a few minutes ago, and that is the controversy in Palm Bay over the comments from this council member who is now under some criticism, and his fellow council members now asking the governor to suspend him. He was the only one to vote against that measure. He spoke during that meeting last night, and here is what he said.
Well, first off, quite frankly, Councilman Johnson, I'm not here to ask for your grace. As far as resigning, I'm not resigning. You can vote for the letter tonight. Hope you do. It's going to be worthless. I'm going to be here for another 3 years. Get used to it. Now, to the members of the Indian community, proud Americans that stand before us, as it was said earlier, in a lot of my comments, I just kind of assumed you as Americans, and there is a problem with illegal immigrants and immigrants from all countries, and I think we need to have tough conversations. X and other social media platforms is the public square. We don't go out in front of City Hall and walk around in the market anymore and stand up and talk. We go on social media. Some people brought it up earlier. If we're not willing to push the envelope, if we're not willing to even have coarse and rigid conversation about controversial issues, and yeah, sometimes I post stuff just to piss people off to get debate going. I'm an enlisted military guy. I spent 10 years around people that we just piss people off. And you know what? I served with people from every single country in the world. I served with people from continents all around the world. I served with 2 Kenyan guys from rival tribes that told me if they landed back in Kenya, they'd have to fight each other and kill each other. But we were all Americans, and we all loved it, and we were having a great time. So I do understand where that could have been misconstrued for you guys. Any apology on that is going to be outside of these chambers after I have some conversations with Mr. Shaw, because I don't believe in just apologizing because the cameras are on me, and I want it to be genuine if it's going to happen. So I did have a conversation with Mr. Shaw before we came in, and some other leaders of the Indian community. We talked on the phone, and we are going to meet more in person after this. I've committed to that. I've even said I'm willing to have a town hall specifically with the members of the Americans of the Indian heritage community. I'm perfectly fine with that. I accept everything you guys do. I'm proud that you're Americans with me. But at the same time, we're going to have tough conversations about things like illegal immigration. We're going to have tough conversations about things like visa abuse and certain other things. And, you know, one of the things that I wasn't happy about that I saw was other state capitals and even Republicans were flying Indian flags on government buildings. And I voted against flying other nations' flags on our government building. We're American government buildings. If you want to fly Indian flags at India Fest on your house, that's fine. But so there are problems in this country, and I like to have those conversations on X in the public square. Yeah, I'm an elected official, and I'm elected by the people. And quite frankly, as long as I'm not breaking the law, I'll say whatever I damn well please. So as far as the rest of the council, again, go ahead and vote for the letter. I almost want you to. We're going to have some more uncomfortable meetings. We can only grow through discomfort, but now I'm kind of pissed, so I think we're just going to have some uncomfortable meetings for fun. With that, I yield my time.
Councilmember Chandler Langevin speaking in that meeting last night. It was a pretty heated meeting. There was a lot of public comment from folks speaking out, upset about what he said about Indian Americans on social media there. You heard his response to all that. Once the meeting came to an end, we had the chance to speak with Mayor Rob Medina from the city of Palm Bay, who gave his take.
So this was a difficult opportunity for this city as we continue to grow. I think Deputy Mayor Jaffe hit some really key points. We've been fighting hard not only to restore the public trust since I got elected. That's been my mantle. But he touched on the economic component to this. Who wants to invest in our city when there are folks that are speaking so negative about our constituency, about our brothers and sisters that, you know, unite us? I've always been someone that lifts up families, and I believe that there have been too many instances we've been trying to disciple, in other words, and bring out another way of going, you know, and applying grace, applying love. And today was in discipleship, there's a part to discipline. And I believe the words of hate just cut so deeply to such a large section of our community. And then, you know, the thought process is what other section of our community will come next. So that was a huge concern for, obviously, the rest of council.
Can you break down really quickly what exactly the motion was that you guys voted for?
So yeah, there's a section of Florida Statute 112, I believe it was, going on memory. But also, we also added in some ethics issues as well. And the attorney's going to draft all that out, and so that letter will be forwarded to our local senator here, our Florida senator, Debbie Mayfield, and then ideally she'll be able to pass that on as well.
So is he effective immediately also removed from all the boards that he's currently
So
on?
part of the motion was for censorship. So let's say he represented the city on TPO. He shouldn't be serving the TPO.
And did that also pass?
Yes, ma'am. It was all joined together.
He really said, send the letter. I hope you do because I'm kind of pissed. What do you want to say when there wasn't a sense of, I'm sorry? He said, try it.
So I'm more of I'm praying for him. I really believe that, and I said that in my speech. I said, hey, there's got to come a time where you have to reckon with your inner self. And so that's who the city of Palm Bay elected as mayor. I'm a minister first. I've been applying the love and discipleship, and I've used scriptures to bring them in. You can't say that you're a Christian and not follow the way, right? So that's been my stance all along.
And do you think the governor is going to suspend him?
That's solely up to the governor. I could only tell you what council, and it was unanimous, of course, 4-1, So if it would have been 3-2, I'm not sure, but it was pretty unanimous, excluding the councilman that has, shared that hateful speech.
There's talks about moving forward, being some tense conversations being had, especially on the board. But how can you guys continue to still move forward and serve the city while still dealing with all this?
So that's an outstanding question, because we've been devoting so much time and energy this entire week. I barely slept. Most of us have full-time jobs as well, and this is a full-time job. We've been hearing by countless hundreds of our constituency, and not only phone calls, but emails as well. Sometimes I'm really quick to respond to those. However, we've been inundated, and it takes its toll. The objective should be for us to lift families up, right? The objective should be for us to have some reflection. There might be difficult conversations, but it's important to know, are we going to move the city forward? Is that our job? Is to continue to build on our infrastructure? Is our job not to build up this city and leave it in a much better place than when we first started? I myself, I want to leave a great city for my grandchildren. And this is taken away from that. There's so much negative energy going on by hateful speech.
The councilman was in a school board and just in a lot of different places. He's part of a white nationalist business group. What is the plan to counter this rhetoric from the city to avoid violence and other kind of like counter-ethnic narratives to take over what the city of Palm Bay is trying to build?
So this is what we just went through, and part of that discussion is the economic development driver that we've been trying to bring to the city, how it affects that. So we sent a positive message that that's unacceptable in our city. We want everyone to know that you could come and invest in the city of Palm Bay, because genuinely we have great people, and we have not only great people, we have trained individuals, we have people of different diversities, right? And I also shared a little bit about diversity is not just the color of our skin. And I think we have to get beyond that. It's different perspectives, it's different ideologies, different cultures that we all come from.
Palm Bay Mayor Rob Medina speaking to reporters last night after that meeting where they plan to ask the governor to suspend one of their council members. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look inside the U.S. Senate chamber on day 3 of the government shutdown. This is Senator Patty Murray, a Democrat from Washington, who is speaking right now as debate continues on the Senate floor ahead of some votes in about an hour over some procedural decisions when it comes to the funding bills. So let's go ahead and listen in here as we near the bottom of the hour here on Fox Local.
Trying to save the healthcare tax credits for months. We cannot wait any longer. Later is too late. The irony of Republicans telling us to wait on healthcare is as rich as the people they shoveled tax breaks on earlier this year. Because let's not forget, earlier this year, Republicans chose to spend a lot of time here and a lot of effort extending the tax cuts for wealthy CEOs. Those tax cuts were set to expire at the end of this year, just like the ACA tax credits we are talking about now. What did Republicans do? Did they tell the billionaires to wait? No. Republicans moved heaven and earth to save the tax cuts for those billionaires. But now they won't move a muscle to save families from skyrocketing health care costs. Republican leaders can't be bothered. When billionaires have a tax cut expiring at the end of the year, it is all hands on deck for Republican leadership, even if it means throwing working families overboard with $1 trillion in health cuts families will need to cover out of their own pocket or go without coverage. But when health care is on the brink, when health premiums are being locked in right now, and when they are going to double for our families, Republicans are nowhere to be found. And I mean that literally. House Republicans have not been here all week. They are missing in action. They should be rushing back to work on a solution. But Republican leaders seem to be moving in the opposite direction, forcing a vote on the same failed partisan bill for the 4th time. Mr. President, we're at the table. We want to be here. We want to find a solution. We want to reopen the government. We want to prevent families' costs from skyrocketing. I hope Republicans decide that they're ready to join us. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Senator Patty Murray speaking there live on the floor of the U.S. Senate. We also heard just a little bit ago from Congressman Randy Fine holding a news conference earlier today about the government shutdown. Congressman Jimmy Patronis. We're going to hear from them in just a little bit, but I do want to play for you Chuck Schumer speaking on the Senate floor just moments ago.
Well, Mr. President, it's day 3 of the Trump shutdown, and the government remains closed because Donald Trump and Republicans insist on raising Americans' health care premiums and kicking millions off their insurance. Sending premiums skyrocketing, as Republicans insist, is fundamentally unsustainable. The American people overwhelmingly support affordable health care. 70% of Americans support extending the ACA premium tax credit, according to a poll released yesterday by the Washington Post. And another poll by KFF yesterday found that nearly 80% support an extension. Guess what? Even a majority of Trump supporters support an extension. Even a majority of Trump supporters, by nearly 60%, support an extension. You don't need the polls. Just go into a barbershop. Just go into a diner. Just go into a supermarket and ask people. People are learning about this issue, and they're aghast that their premiums could go up so much. They're aghast that our Republican colleagues don't even want to fix it when it affects so many tens of millions of people, and the amount that it goes up is so high, so high. It's not difficult. We know Americans want this. And we know many of my Republican colleagues want this as well. But failure to act would be devastating. And Republicans know it. Even Donald Trump knows it. He talked about it a little bit with us in the White House when we went a few days back. If we don't act now, then at least 22 million people will see their health care premiums double on average. But for many people, it's even worse than that. If these ACA premium tax credits aren't extended, the average 55-year-old couple making $85,000 a year would see their premiums not just double, but triple. $25,000 a year. How is a senior citizen, even one that has a little bit of savings and a little bit of a cushion, afford $25,000 a year? So that is all Democrats want to fix. We are on the side of the people. The people know it and want it and need it. It's not complicated. Americans want it. Republican voters want it. Democrats remain ready and willing to work with the other side. We're ready to work on a path forward to lower health care costs for the American people and fund the federal government. I yield the floor.
Senator Chuck Schumer just moments ago. Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, speaking now. Let's go ahead and listen in.
When the senator has every ability to vote in a few minutes to open the government back up is quite fake outrage. I object.
Mr. President.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President, let's be really clear. This has absolutely nothing to do with annual appropriations whatsoever. Doesn't have to do with the shutdown. This is a law that expired at the end of the fiscal year to protect our cybersecurity across the country. It's about restoring a law that's been in place for 10 years. It's not about the appropriations process. This is simply about national security. So to use that as an excuse and to put our country at risk is simply unconscionable, given the broad, bipartisan, bicameral support you have in the Senate and in the House, and including the strong support from the Trump administration. This is simply irresponsible, and I think you'll find is basically one person standing in the way of providing critical protection for cybersecurity for the entire country. That's not the way this process is supposed to work, and I hope folks would come to their senses and we can provide this essential protection before it's too late.
That was Senator Gary Peters, a Democrat from Michigan, speaking for most of that time. There was some sort of objection that Rand Paul of Kentucky was raising there. But this is day 3 of the government shutdown. Lawmakers, again, expected to vote in about an hour on those funding plans today. Meanwhile, President Trump has said reportedly that they are preparing for major layoffs from the federal government during this. Meanwhile, as we have heard, Democrats continuing to say they want to see those Affordable Care Act subsidies extended before they expire, and the GOP has taken the position that they will negotiate about that after a short-term funding bill has been passed and the government reopened. Dr. Larry Walker, an associate professor at UCF, was on Good Day Orlando this morning to talk about the politics of this.
We don't know. The last one went 35 days. A lot of people hoping that's not the case. When you look at the tea leaves right now, what do you expect in today's vote, and how long might this last?
Yeah, Brian, I think you hit on it. I do not expect the vote to pass. You mentioned in the Senate you need the 60 vote threshold. You did have a few days ago 3 individuals who caucused with the Democrats, including Senator King, who's an independent, who did support this clean CR, but it's not likely to meet the 60 vote threshold today.
A lot of this comes down to health care, and we did see, as you mentioned, 3 Democrats cross over, and there have been these discussions about who gets the health care, and they have to hold firm on that line. Can they do that? Will this ultimately be about health care, or how will they decide this?
Yeah, you know, Ryan, people may be watching TV and not really clear about what's going on, but what's happening is that in the beginning of 2026, the Affordable Care Act subsidies are going to expire, and millions of Americans are going to see their health care costs increase. So what Democrats are saying, both sides of the aisle, is that they want to negotiate to ensure those subsidies are extended now, and while they're doing with the current CR, and don't want to have a short-term CR and then say, well, we'll deal with it in a few weeks, a few months. So they want to address that issue now, and it is an important issue. But whether the White House and Senate Republicans decide to include that in the CR over the next couple of days or a couple of weeks. So hopefully that doesn't happen. We'll have to wait and see.
Let's talk about the average person, what it looks like for them. I've got a son that works for a defense contractor. He's not impacted, but he said the first day they found out a lot of our third-party companies are. There have been people that have been furloughed already. It'll get worse as we go on, but for the average person right now, what's the outlook?
Yeah, so essentially, for Americans who are kind of watching this, what's going to happen? It's really, if you're an essential employee, you have to work. So, for instance, Ryan, if you and I go to the airport, MCO today, TSA agents, please be kind if you're watching right now, because those individuals have to work. But also, there are certain federal employees who could end up being furloughed over the next couple of days, and it could be in the tens of thousands.
Yeah, and we're a major tourist organization, so we know what we've seen in the past is TSA agents, they hold together, they're essential. But if this goes on weeks, you start seeing sick calls, you start seeing people pushing back, and you also know that people haven't missed a check yet. Once that happens in a matter of a day or a week, that's going to be an issue then.
Yeah, we saw this during the first Trump administration. TSA agents kind of essentially led to, having a deal with Democrats and Republicans because, they started calling out. And you certainly can't afford to have TSA agents not at their posts when you have, tens of thousands of Americans who fly, on a daily and a weekly basis. So the TSA agents could, once again, determine how long this lasts.
Final, let's finish with this. 30 seconds. Where there's chaos in Washington, sometimes there's opportunity. Could the president have a chance to cut spending in places he maybe wanted to over this?
Yeah, so the president has, taken, some efforts to cut spending and gotten back in the Supreme Court in some of these cases. But I think they'll also keep in mind there are certain guardrails in place, and there's certain things he can do and certain things he can't do because Congress essentially holds the purse strings.
And here's a live look right now at the White House press briefing room, where we do expect to hear from the Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, briefing shortly. That's scheduled for 1 o'clock. We'll monitor that as well. But we're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. In just a minute, I'm going to play for you Governor Ron DeSantis' news conference earlier today in Pinellas County, but I do want to take us back to the Senate floor right now, as Senator Mitch McConnell, a Republican from Kentucky, is speaking right now. He is in his final term. He's been in the Senate for decades, was a longtime Republican leader as well. He's speaking as this government shutdown continues. Let's listen in here.
Of a government shutdown. But the long-term consequences of going without robust full-year defense appropriations are far, far graver. I offered this warning in the spring when, for the first time, Washington told America's men and women in uniform to conduct today's operations and prepare for tomorrow's threats using yesterday's dollars. We put the national defense on a full-year continuing resolution and forced the military services to function for another year on the anemic defense budget signed into law by President Biden. A full-year CR is the enemy of readiness, modernization, and efficiency. The armed services want to make their budgets simpler, more efficient, and more flexible by consolidating budget lines. But they can't do that under a full-year CR. Punting new appropriations directly contradicts the Pentagon's stated goal of building a resilient, surge-ready munitions enterprise. The prohibitions on new program starts under a CR effectively put high priority on service modernization efforts literally on ice. The administration says it wants flexible and efficient investments. Well, Mr. President, there's nothing flexible, efficient, resilient, or lethal about running the national defense enterprise on a full-year CR. Nor will a CR send a consistent signal industry and investors need to pour private capital into the long overdue expansion of our defense industrial base. If you want to increase our nation's capacity to produce munitions more quickly and in larger volumes, full-year CRs just might be the worst way to go about it. I don't mean to sound overly alarmed. God willing, the House-passed short-term funding extension will give Congress enough time to deliver full-year appropriations and release our military from the constraints of the Biden fiscal year 24 budget. But I want our colleagues to understand what's at stake this fall. The President has set some ambitious, important, and overdue priorities for America's national security. And none of them come cheap. Golden Dome for America, an America shipbuilding renaissance, sixth-generation stealth fighter aircraft, the long overdue modernization of our nuclear force. Reconciliation isn't enough to support these major efforts, and neither is a perpetual freeze at the Biden fiscal 24 level. Reviving the warrior ethos, rebuilding the military, reestablishing deterrence, these are priorities we hear about all the time from the President's advisors. I certainly have no problem with rowing in that direction. I'm all for high standards of physical fitness, but push-ups alone aren't going to stop Chinese hypersonic missiles. The next major conflict will likely be a test of lethality at very long distances. That's why I've spent years urging successive administrations to rebuild our global power projection and long-range fires. It's why I criticize the Biden administration for talking about China as the pacing threat, but turning in defense budget requests that didn't even keep pace with inflation. The administration cannot afford to make this same mistake. So this week, I was encouraged to hear Secretary Hegseth proclaim a Trump buildup in the mold of the Reagan buildup that helped end the Cold War. For the record, my fellow defense appropriators and I have been ready to deliver such a buildup since day one. And our bipartisan bill speaks for itself, putting money where our mouth is. But here's the rub. We can only make it happen if the administration moves from words to action. And an important step in that process is the National Defense Strategy. Historically, the National Defense Strategy is what administrations use to define threats, identify objectives, and propose coherent plans for aligning resources to actually meet them. But this time around, the stakes are a lot higher. A short-sighted NDS that doesn't align with the president's vision of American greatness and peace through strength could wind up as the pretext to extend Biden-era constraints on our military indefinitely. Unfortunately, early reports suggest that this risk may be real and that the NDS may turn out eerily similar to the rhetoric of Obama-era officials who viewed their remit as managing America's decline amid a transition to a multipolar world. If the NDS ignores the importance of maintaining American primacy, fails to account.
Senator Mitch McConnell continuing to speak now on the Senate floor. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get you to the news conference Governor Ron DeSantis in Clearwater just a little bit ago. Keep it right here on Fox Local and YouTube, and we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Clearwater earlier today. He was holding a news conference at the Hulk Hogan's Hangout. It's a restaurant and bar in the Clearwater area. Obviously, this comes weeks after the death of Hulk Hogan, who is a legend in the wrestling world and in pop culture as well, a Florida resident. And today, Governor DeSantis announced that he is dedicating Hulk Hogan's Trail in Clearwater at a 2-mile portion of the Clearwater Trail there in Pinellas County. And here's that full news conference earlier today as Governor DeSantis spoke in Pinellas County.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. It is great to be at Hogan's Hangout. We're excited about today's announcement. I know we've got members of the Hogan family. His son Nick is with us. We've also got Mouth of the South. Jimmy Hart is here, and we'll have a few things to say as we make this dedication today. But it's an honor for me to be here. You know, when I was growing up in this area, there were a lot of kind of superstars that we would look up to in various things, and I like pretty much every sport. But I don't think any star shined brighter than Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, particularly for a kid who was in, the mid-'80s when all this stuff really started to go crazy. This was something that was just like larger than life. And the message of training, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, that's something that stuck with me as a kid, and I know influenced so many other kids all around the country. And if you think about it, so we actually were able to come here at the end of May. And we were in town, and my kids who are in elementary school, they know Hulk. And they think about Hulk when they think about, and they like wrestling, they like all this stuff. So we came here and were able to meet him. And they got to meet him at the end of May. And but they had, my daughter asked him about wrestling Andre the Giant because they knew he had done that. They'd seen the videos. My son asked him if he had ever been hit over the head with a guitar by the Honky Tonk Man. He said one time that happened. I know Jimmy Hart probably has the background on all that. And I'm just thinking to myself, just as a dad with these young kids, like, how many people from like my childhood would my kids even recognize, right? I mean, maybe they know like Michael Jordan, maybe they know, but like there ain't many, right? And, so Hulk from like the mid-'80s all the way till the end, anytime he went anywhere, instantly recognizable. I mean, everyone knows Hulk Hogan. If you think about, they did the big, first WrestleMania was a big deal. They had like Mr. T, and, he had been in Rocky III with Sylvester Stallone and Mr. T as Thunder Lips, which is a big deal. Then WrestleMania was like a whole new paradigm. And then really the third WrestleMania when he wrestled Andre, that was like the biggest thing that had ever happened. But then, and a lot of people don't realize, after that WrestleMania, they did another Hogan-Andre. It was on NBC, and it got 37 million viewers on NBC for that rematch. Now think about it. Is there anything in America other than the Super Bowl that can pull 37 million viewers? And we have many more people in the country today than we did then. So that was like a really, really significant impact. And just as somebody who grew up with that, I kind of identified with how people responded. I think when he passed away, you had a really organic outpouring because people just, he was one of the flashpoints in their life. They remember being a kid. They remember following him through the years. And so I think it brought a lot to the forefront for a lot of people. But I also was somebody, so as governor, as a Floridian, he was proud to be a Floridian. I mean, he loved this state. He loved this community. So we were happy to declare August 1st Hulk Hogan Day in the state of Florida. And we had fun doing that. And it's great. And we were happy to do it. And so, but we also wanted to think about, okay, is there anything else we can do that's more lasting than that, especially in this community? You know, here in the Tampa Bay area and Pinellas County, I mean, like, you know, I grew up in Pinellas County, and so we knew he was somebody that was linked to the area, had deep roots in Tampa, obviously lived out here, whether Bel Air or Clearwater Beach, for so many, many years. So we wanted to see, is there something we can do, you know, that would be meaningful and that would really, I think, be a fitting tribute. So, you know, sometimes you can name, we'll name this walkway or this street or something, and we thought about doing that, but we also said, you know, what would be the most fitting with Hulk's persona of training, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, and so we thought about this Clearwater portion of the Clearwater Trail that we could dedicate in Hulk's memory. And so I'm proud to announce today that we are officially establishing the Hulk Hogan Trail on a 2-mile portion of the Clearwater Trail between Oak Avenue and Coronado Drive. And so I think it's... And so you'll see those signs, but what we're also going to do is have different types of, and it'll be in the red and yellow colors, different types of exercise stations along the way. Because, you know, people bike, they run, they walk, but, you know, why not have a pull-up bar there or something so people can knock, I mean, honestly, if you go for a 2-3 mile walk and you knock out 30 pull-ups or something, you know, along the way, do 3 sets of 10, something like that, that's going to make a big difference. So that'll be done. We'll take care of all that, and I think it's something that is exciting. It shows that you know, his memory is going to live a long time. I mean, it was always said Hulkamania is going to live forever. I don't think you're going to ever find somebody that's going to be able to eclipse him in terms of the star power that he brought to professional wrestling. And you know, when people say it's fake, let me tell you something. It isn't fake when you get thrown out of the ring and you land on a concrete floor. It's not fake when you get body slammed by Andre the Giant and when you're wrestling like almost every day going over and over again. That's a massive wear and tear on your body, especially in those days, because they were doing so many of these shows that were never on TV. I mean, you'd have some TV, but most of the stuff they were doing, it was to pack people into to these arenas, and you know, 99% of the people there were there to see Hulk Hogan. So this is something that you know, he did this for a long time. It is not easy. Don't let anyone tell you that it's easy. I've been able to go to the WWE Performance Center, watch how those guys train and doing all that stuff, and it's very, very impressive. So we're excited about this. We think it's fitting. You know, we do have some other folks. We're going to hear from Nick, and then also Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart. So first, Nick Hogan, Hulk's son, is going to come up and say a few things. So come on up.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us here at Hogan's Hangout. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of myself, my father, and my entire family to Governor Ron DeSantis for giving us this honor. And thank you to the state of Florida, Pinellas County, and the city of Clearwater for helping to make this happen. This is something that my dad would be so proud of, because Clearwater was always home for him. No matter how far he traveled around the world or where his career took him, he always was grounded here, and he loved this community and he loved the people here. So to know that a piece of the Clearwater Trail has been dedicated in his honor is something that he would be so proud of and so happy about. So thank you, Governor Ron DeSantis, for that, and thank you to everybody that's involved in making that happen. I would also like to say that the spirit of this trail, being, like he said, the training, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, that was the motto my dad lived by, and he loved to inspire people to be the best version of themselves. So this trail isn't just a dedication, this is a living legacy on behalf of my father that can carry that spirit forward for everybody that's outdoors, exercising, trying to become the best version of themselves in his name. So that is amazing, and we are unbelievably proud of that. I'd also like to recognize Governor Ron DeSantis for his leadership and everything he's done for the people of Florida and the state of Florida, because myself, my father, our entire family are huge supporters of Governor DeSantis and his vision that he has for Florida. So thank you, Governor Ron DeSantis. We are really proud of this, and I'm excited to go get a workout in. So what you gonna do when you train on the Hulk Hogan Trail?
All right, I think we've got. So this is also another thing to kind of, I guess, a rendering of what you see. We're going to have some different equipment and whatnot along the way, and I think it's going to be really, really good for that. So I want to thank Nick and his family for being here. We also have another wrestling legend here today, Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart, and anybody that's ever watched wrestling knows about Jimmy Hart. You know, he was with Hulk from the very beginning, back in like the 70s when they were doing stuff in Memphis, and then obviously both ended up in the then WWF together. And you know, Jimmy, he had that megaphone, and sometimes that would be used illicitly to help win matches for people like the Honky Tonk Man. But that's just the way it goes, right? I mean, you know. And so he had all those people he was managing, but then when Hulk went to WCW, then that's when they really, formally joined forces, and he was, at Hulk's side on all that for so many years, and really honored to have Jimmy Hart here. He's somebody that's also lives in the Tampa Bay area and has been friends with the Hulk for many years. So Jimmy, come on up here, my man.
First of all, thank you so much. Hulk will be happy, Nick. Another sellout. Another sellout. Standing room only, a line out front. You know, I got to tell you, every now and then, Hulk and I would talk politics. And I got to tell you, Governor, you were his favorite. He said, I love the governor, man. And I said, he's right, because you've done so much for this state, and Hulk loved you tremendously. So I'm just letting you know that. I'm just letting you know that, bottom line. You know, I know the Hulkster's up in heaven right now. He's looking down here on this little beach bar, and he's with Andre the Giant, and of course, he's with Macho Man Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, and the list goes on and on. And they're saying, look, man, you got a state trail named after you. What do you think? And he's going to go, this is great, because I got my beach bar here in Clearwater Beach. I've got my wrestling shop right a few doors down here in Clearwater Beach. My homes are in Clearwater Beach. I love Clearwater Beach, so this is such a great day. And I'm going to make this short and sweet, because I got to fly to L.A. real quick here. But I got to tell you something. What's so cool about this is that... and I get kind of sentimental when I talk about it, because this is where Hulk and I would always do karaoke every Monday night here. I'm sorry. And we'd always sit here, do karaoke. And the last thing he said to me, he said, Jimmy Hart, I want you to go up and do your song, Keep on Dancing, for me, which I really hated doing. I was telling my age, and I was part of a group in the 60s called the Gentrys. We had a million-seller called Keep on Dancing. And so we did it, and I did it for him, and I'm glad I did. And I won the championship belt here for doing that, for karaoke. But I just want to thank TKO, the WWE, and of course you, Governor. Thank you for everything y'all have done for him, and all the millions and millions of Hulkamaniacs around the world. Thank you so much. Thank you. And if Hulk was here, I know what he would say. Jimmy Hart, buy everybody here a real American beer. Thank y'all. We love you. Thank you.
You want to do a quick picture with Sky? You want to go? So let's grab that side, and we'll go in front of the podium here and do. You want to get in the middle? There you go, guys. Come into it.
Governor DeSantis speaking earlier there. You see the sign for the Hulk Hogan Trail. They talked about the some of the equipment, the exercise equipment that they'll have out there as well. So again, this is a 2-mile stretch of the Clearwater Trail in Pinellas County. We are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. I want to give you a live look right now at the U.S. Senate floor. This is Senator John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas, who is speaking right now. Meanwhile, we expect votes in about 20 minutes or so when the votes could begin, the procedural votes on the funding plan. So I will have updates for you on that. Also give you a live look inside the White House press briefing room where Caroline Leavitt will deliver a briefing here shortly. But I want to bring you right now a news conference from Congressman Randy Fine. We spoke with him earlier in the week here on Fox Local. This was before the shutdown when we had the chance to speak with him, talking about his concerns. And he held a news conference earlier today with the Putnam County Sheriff. But you know what? Caroline Leavitt just walked out, and so let's go ahead and listen in at least at the beginning of her briefing here and the first few questions. So let's listen in.
Republicans are fully unified behind passing nonpartisan clean funding bill, the exact same bill that Democrats approved back in March to reopen the federal government. But those same Senate Democrats are now voting against this clean funding bill and keeping the people's government closed. I understand Democrats will have an opportunity very shortly here to change course, and we hope that they will. There are significant personal impacts on millions of Americans as a result of this current government shutdown. The 1.3 million men and women of America's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Space Force who serve honorably and put their lives on the line to defend us all are not being paid. Military families are already seeking out food assistance because of financial anxiety caused by this Democrat shutdown. According to new reporting from the Military Times, staff members at the Armed Services YMCA food pantry distribution location near Fort Hood in Texas found a line of military families stretched around the side of the building yesterday at 5 in the morning. According to the staff who work there, that is, quote, not happened ever. They've already had a 34% increase this week over past weeks. President Trump and Republicans fundamentally believe we have a sacred responsibility to protect and provide for our military families with the resources they need to thrive. If Democrats believe in this very simple premise too, they should end this shutdown immediately. Unfortunately, the severe impacts of the Democrat shutdown extend beyond our troops. Nearly 7 million mothers, infants, and low-income families who rely on government-run food assistance will be in jeopardy if the WIC program runs out of money in the weeks ahead. The more than 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that Americans fly safely in airports across the country are currently working without pay. The National Flood Insurance Program is in danger of lapsing, which could leave families without necessary help if a disaster strikes, and we are in the middle of hurricane season. Critical services offered at Social Security field offices are reduced for senior citizens and disabled Americans. Helpful transition assistance programs are not being provided for veterans who fought to defend our country and are now trying to re-enter civilian life. The economic consequences of this shutdown are piling up every day. Policymakers, markets, and even the Federal Reserve are flying blind at a key juncture because BLS and BEA data are on hold until the government reopens. Democrats shutting down the federal government to give health care to illegal aliens could lead to lower growth and higher unemployment rates for Americans. According to a new memo from the Council of Economic Advisors, the U.S. economy could lose $15 billion of growth domestic product each week. Every single week, the Democrat shutdown extends, with a month-long shutdown leading to an additional 43,000 unemployed people. Small businesses are likely to encounter delays in receiving federal loans. Mortgage applications will likely shrink. And just this morning, Business Roundtable, an association of more than 200 CEOs of Americans' leading companies representing every sector of the U.S. economy, put out a statement urging Congress to pass the clean CR that will once again come before them in the Senate floor in just a few moments. Quote, a fully functioning government is essential for American businesses, workers, and consumers, while policymakers continue working on a full-year funding package and other pressing issues. Again, that is a quote from the Business Roundtable. What's clear is that the Democrats' actions account to an intentional sabotage of our country and our people by shutting down our government. This madness must end. President Trump and Republicans are calling on Democrats to reopen the government immediately on behalf of the American public. All we need are 5 Democrat senators to do the right thing and to stop this shutdown. Call your Democrat senator and tell them to vote yes to reopen the government. On another matter, despite the Democrat shutdown, President Trump's efforts to make America safe again continue. President Trump believes that American cities should be the safest places on earth, and he is committed to making this a reality. We've already seen that President Trump successfully made D.C. safe again in only a few weeks. That same crime crackdown will continue to happen in cities across the country and is happening in Portland, Oregon. President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists. What's been allowed to happen in Portland, and we saw disturbing video footage of this last night, this is not peaceful protesting, this is left-wing anarchy that has been destroying this great American city for years, leaving police officers battered, citizens terrorized, and business properties damaged. Since early June alone, Antifa terrorists have laid siege to the ICE field office in South Portland. These radical left-wing lunatics have violently breached the ICE facility by using a stop sign as a battering ram, hurled explosives and other projectiles at law enforcement, repeatedly assault and dox officers, berate their law-abiding neighbors, and have even rolled out a guillotine in front of the ICE facility. And more people should be reporting on that. President Trump has sent federal law enforcement to protect federal assets and arrest those fueling this violence. Just last night, we saw an extremely troubling incident where conservative journalist Nick Sorter was captured on video being taken into custody by the Portland police after he was ambushed by Antifa and was defending himself from these assaults. But instead of arresting these violent mob members night after night after night who are ravaging this community, the police arrested a journalist who was there trying to document the chaos, and everyone in this room should be extremely concerned about that. The Department of Justice spoke with that journalist this morning, and they will be launching a full investigation into his arrest. This incident is part of a troubling trend in Portland where left-wing mobs believe they get to decide who can visit and live in their city. It is not their city. It is the American people's city, and President Trump is going to restore that. I just spoke with the president about this, and he has directed his team here at the White House to begin reviewing aid that can potentially be cut in Portland. We will not fund states that allow anarchy. There will also be an additional surge of federal resources to Portland immediately, including enhanced CBP and ICE resources. Law and order will prevail, and President Trump will make sure of it. With that, I'll take your questions, and we will begin today's briefing with our new media seat, Amanda Head from Just the News. Amanda, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. On that most recent topic that you mentioned, reportedly Portland police have not been able to engage protesters to the degree that they normally would. Does the president plan on handling this from that angle as well with city leaders?
Yes. From our understanding, the law enforcement that we have here in the Homeland Security Task Force, I spoke with them this morning, and what they're seeing is that unfortunately, local police has been restricted from responding or cooperating at all with federal authorities, which is completely absurd. We have surged federal law enforcement personnel to this city to restore law and order and to work alongside local law enforcement. And we've seen the benefits of this in Washington, D.C. And all of you live here, so you can agree Washington, D.C. is and feels much safer because of the cooperation between federal and local law enforcement. They can and must be working together, and we think it's despicable that these local elected officials who swear an oath to protect their people are preventing law enforcement from doing their jobs on the ground. So that's why the president has directed his team here at the White House, and they are already on it to look into how we can cut funds. And the president wants to work with anyone. If the mayor of Portland were to call him right now and say, "Mr. President, please help us," I am sure the president would be willing to do that. He is genuinely serious about wanting to restore order in America's cities. But it's become apparent that the local and elected officials in Oregon do not feel the same, and that's very unfortunate for the people who live there.
And then one more question on the government shutdown. Should there be some type of scheduled layoffs to maybe entice Democrats to come to the table, like every hour another agency, another 100 pink slips? I'm sure Russ Vought has a list of folks ready to go.
Well, look, the Office of Management and Budget, as we've said repeatedly, is working with the agencies and our cabinet secretaries to identify where cuts unfortunately can and have to be made. And again, we understand there's another vote happening on the Senate floor in an hour. Maybe if Democrats do the right thing, this government shutdown can be over. Our troops can get paid again. We can go back to doing the business of the American people. But if this shutdown continues, as we've said, layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that. And Russ Vought has been in contact with our cabinet secretaries at their respective agencies to discuss that. Thank you, Amanda. Kelly.
How would this administration define what makes a Democrat agency, which agencies, and what constitutes being a Democrat agency?
I think this administration has been very clear, Kelly, that we're not going to tolerate waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. And we've also been very clear to point out when agencies or when programs do not align with this administration's values of putting our country first. You've seen that with USAID and in various other cases where there's been cuts made or funding has been slashed. And so, again, unfortunately, we're having to do a massive review of the bureaucracy to be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar. And it's the Democrats who have forced the White House and the president into this position by voting to shut the government down.
You've talked about thousands likely layoffs coming. Do you have an update on the timeline for that? How quickly? And if the government is restored to funding and back in operation, will that list of potential layoffs still be on the table?
Look, as I just stated, the Office of Management and Budget is in constant communication and contact right now with our cabinet secretaries and agencies across the board to identify, unfortunately, where layoffs have to be made and where cuts have to happen. But again, the Democrats have an opportunity to prevent this if they vote to reopen the government. That is all this administration and the president is asking for. Vote for a clean, continuing resolution to keep the government open. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. During the campaign...
Thank you, Peter.
I was raised to say thank you in the White House briefing room. During the campaign, President Trump said that he did not know anything about Project 2025. Now he knows about it. Is that the blueprint for shrinking the government?
Look, the blueprint is what the president and his team and his cabinet secretaries ultimately decide. And the president trusts his cabinet secretaries to identify where there is waste, fraud, and abuse. We pointed out this morning, or Russ Vought tweeted about this morning, a Chicago rail project that was canceled. We paused $2.1 billion in Chicago infrastructure projects, specifically the Red Line extension and the red and purple modernization projects. And it's because the administration is concerned that the Biden administration was handing out taxpayer dollars to pay for this construction based on DEI. DOT is reviewing the race-based contracting on unconstitutional grounds, and in the meantime, the Department of Transportation funds for these projects are on hold. So I guess this answers both of your questions. This would be an example of that.
And just because there's so much shutdown talk, something different. What do you guys think about the NFL's decision to name Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl halftime performer, somebody who has not scheduled shows in the U.S. because he says that he's worried that ICE is going to come and arrest his fans?
Well, look, I know there are many in this room who are very anxious to hear the president's response to Bad Bunny being the halftime show, so I won't get ahead of him. I won't reveal what he feels about this. Next time you all ask him a question, you're welcome to do that. I have my own feelings on that, but that's not what I'm up here to talk about. As far as ICE being at the Super Bowl, as far as I'm aware, there's no tangible plan for that in store right now. However, of course, this administration is always going to arrest and deport illegal immigrants when we find them. If they are criminals, we're going to do the right thing by our country. Kate.
Did the president and Russ Vought decide yesterday in their meeting which cuts they wanted to make to agencies and which ones would be permanent?
Again, I've kind of answered this question a few different times now. It's been asked in a few different ways. Their discussions continue between the Office of Management and Budget and cabinet agencies across the board, and they are actively identifying where these cuts and these layoffs have to be made as this government shutdown hopefully does not continue.
And on Hamas, the president said that if Hamas rejects the proposal, that Netanyahu would have his full backing to finish the job. A UN report found that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza. Does the president have concerns about the civilians being killed, the worsening humanitarian crisis, and are there limits to what the White House would support when it comes to Israel's actions in Gaza?
Look, the president has deep concerns about all of the atrocities that have taken place in the Middle East over the past few years. It's deeply unfortunate that he inherited this mess from the Biden administration. If you all recall, under President Trump in his first term, the Middle East was on a pathway for peace and prosperity. There was the historic signing of the Abraham Accords. Israel was on a path to normalization between Arab and Gulf nations, and we hope that can continue. But right now, the president has made it very clear to Hamas that this is an acceptable and detailed proposal that they must accept, or the consequences are going to be very grave for them. And he has given them a deadline of Sunday evening at 6 p.m. When I was out here on Wednesday, I told all of you I'll leave it to the president to make that red line, and he now has. I think the entire world should hear the president of the United States loud and clear. And Hamas has an opportunity to accept this plan and to move forward in a peaceful and prosperous manner in the region. And if they don't, the consequences, unfortunately, are going to be very tragic. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Has the president declared war on international drug cartels? And if so, or if he will, does he feel he needs congressional approval?
As the White House has said many times, the president has directed these actions, these strikes against Venezuelan drug cartels and these boats, consistent with his responsibility to protect the United States interests abroad and in furtherance of the U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. This is pursuant to his constitutional authority as commander-in-chief and the chief executive to conduct foreign relations. In each of these cases, Michael, the vessels have been assessed by the U.S. intelligence community to be affiliated with designated terrorist organizations engaged at the time in trafficking illicit drugs to our country. The president has been very clear, dating back to the campaign trail, that he is always going to do what's in the best interest of the American homeland. And he also promised the American people he was going to end the drug epidemic that has taken far too many American lives. And you're seeing those actions play out almost every single day here.
Last question on the shutdown, Caroline. Hakeem Jeffries has said that President Trump is in the Presidential Witness Protection Program since the shutdown has begun. What's the White House's reaction to that?
That's just more ridiculous fodder from Hakeem Jeffries. As you all know, because you're here every day, the president is literally working around the clock right now. I think he has a swearing-in ceremony, or he already did. He has several meetings on the books today. He literally works 24/7. Anyone who works in this place or covers this place, as you all do, knows that to be true. And Hakeem Jeffries and the Senate Democrats should get back to work in a few minutes and vote to reopen the government.
This White House press briefing continuing, covering a lot of topics, but obviously a lot of talk about the government shutdown going on. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are continuing to monitor the White House press briefing as Caroline Leavitt is asked a number of questions there. We are also standing by, checking on a vote that's expected soon on the floor of the Senate when it comes to some of the procedural votes for the funding plans that potentially could end the government shutdown, so we'll be watching for that. Congressman Randy Fine, who is the congressman for Florida's 6th Congressional District, he was held a news conference earlier today in Putnam County alongside the Putnam County Sheriff, talking about the impacts of the government shutdown. Here is what he had to say just a little bit ago.
Of the Schumer shutdown, and I want people to understand what is going on. 2 weeks ago, my colleagues and I said we need 7 more weeks in order to get a budget done that will have to pass the U.S. House of Representatives, will have to pass the U.S. Senate with 60 votes, including Democrat votes, and be signed by the President of the United States. We need 7 more weeks until November 21st. So we passed a very short continuing resolution. No new policy riders, no change. It's exactly the same as what Democrats have voted for 13 times before. The only difference is this time Donald Trump was the President of the United States. And Democrats said they would only vote to keep the government open if we were willing to re-access Medicaid and health insurance for illegal immigrants. They said in order to keep the government open for 7 weeks, you have to agree to $200 billion of funding for health care for illegal immigrants and a bunch of other crazy ideas. And we said, no, here's the government, keep it open, have your debates. We're open to having those debates over the next 7 weeks, but we don't do this stuff to keep the government open. And so Democrats said no, and they voted to shut down the government. And today we're in day 3 of that shutdown. And the reason I wanted to come to Putnam County today is because I'm cognizant of the fact that we're in the midst of hurricane season. My family had 2 houses destroyed by hurricanes. My parents in 2004, mine in 2016. And when both of our houses were damaged, the first people that were there were the federal flood insurance folks. Well, right now, today, as we stand here on October 3rd, it is illegal to buy federal flood insurance. It is illegal to renew federal flood insurance. So that means if you are doing everything right, you are being responsible, you are buying federal flood insurance, and it just so happened that your deadline has come up, you can't be covered. And if a hurricane were to come, and they do in this time of year, and you were to have damage, there's nothing you could do because Democrats have chosen to put all of that aside to try to get health coverage for illegal immigrants. It's a real big deal, but it's not just about people being protected. It means homes can't be sold and homes can't be bought because most people buying a house get a mortgage. And the bank may say, we won't give you a mortgage if you don't have flood insurance. Well, guess what? That means people can't buy their homes and they can't sell their homes. And that's going to affect other people. But there are other effects as well. We are a few days away from the Women, Infant, and Children Program, WIC, a program intended to provide for the nutritional needs of low-income mothers and children running out of money. And again, Democrats are saying providing free health care to illegal immigrants is more important than providing food to in-need children. It's simply wrong. And then lastly, I think about the ICE agents that I had the privilege of going out with on a mission here in Putnam County a few weeks ago. I think of our soldiers who are working not only on bases in the United States, but around the world. They all have to go to work every day right now. But you know what they don't get? They don't get a paycheck. Because Democrats have said they'd rather illegal immigrants get free health insurance than our soldiers get paid. But you know who is getting paid no matter what? Congressmen and senators. We get our paychecks no matter what. And that's just wrong. So one of the things that I'm here to announce is today I'm going to be asking the administrator of the House to withhold my pay until our soldiers are getting paid, until this budget shutdown, this Democrat shutdown comes to an end. And frankly, I call on the Democrats, who are the ones who are keeping the government closed, to do the same. I saw the most horrific statement by a Democrat senator who said, no, I can't not get my paycheck. How am I going to take care of my kids? How am I going to pay my mortgage? It's a great point. But for some reason, they don't mind when our ICE agents and our soldiers aren't able to do the same thing. The Schumer shutdown's having real effects on Floridians, and the effects are only going to get worse. So I'm here to talk about them and to let them know that I'll do everything I can, and we have, to get the government open. But it's time for the Democrats to stop holding us hostage about insurance for illegal immigrants and get the government open. And with that, I'd like to turn it over. We'll get to questions both for those of you here and those media outlets that are watching online. We'll get to questions, but first, I'd like to turn it over to Sheriff DeLoach for any comments that he'd like to add.
Thank you, Congressman Fine. So not only does this government shutdown have tentacles that reach all over the world, but what you may not realize is that it affects us here locally as well. Just here in Putnam County at the Sheriff's Office, we have assets that are assigned not only to Federal Bureau of Investigation task forces, but also DEA task forces that are funded through a federal initiative through HIDA. And without those HIDA dollars coming in, all of the work that our agents are doing that are assigned to those particular task forces effectively comes to a halt. So they're not getting paid, just like the soldiers that Congressman Fine mentioned just a moment ago, but all of those other programs and assets that support those task forces are not in operation, and they can't do their jobs to make us more effective at eliminating drugs from our society. So not only does it affect people on a global level, but also here on a more granular level here locally. And it's absolutely atrocious that we have shut down the government just because of some whiny, snot-nosed brats who want to give money, $200 billion to illegal immigrants. It's absolutely ludicrous. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Congressman Fine.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Sheriff. Last thing I'd say before we take questions is what my ask is. Democrat senators are in Washington today, and if they haven't yet, they will soon be voting again on whether to allow the government to open. Republicans are there. We're voting to open the government. If 5 Democrat senators will join Republicans to get to that 60-vote number, the government will reopen. We can have those debates that they want to have between now and November 21st about all of these policy issues they want to discuss, but the government will be open, our soldiers will be paid, Floridians will be able to buy and renew their flood insurance, women will be able to get their WIC money, and all of these other issues will go away. So my hope is today 5 Democrats will choose to join Republicans in doing the right thing and getting the government open again. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Congressman Fine, on the press release you sent out, you also mentioned impacts to FEMA. How would it work right now? A storm hits, does FEMA still come in? Do they still do their jobs? Do those reimbursement dollars come through?
Well, that's a much bigger challenge. As these guys can tell you, when the storm hits, Florida's really responsible for dealing with the issues. FEMA's major role is reimbursement, and those reimbursements actually can take years to get. And so that's not what worries me that much. Frankly, the years of reimbursement worries me, and we're actually working on that separately. Counties should not have to borrow money in order to front the costs while they wait years and years and years for FEMA to repay them. What worries me here, though, is the federal flood program is a FEMA program. So when we're talking about FEMA, that's what we're talking about. And what I observed in 2016 when my house was damaged is within days, FEMA inspectors were there to help. But again, I want you to keep in mind, you're an elderly family. You live in a low-lying area. You've gotten flood insurance. It's heavily subsidized already by the government. The most you can get is $250,000 of coverage on your structure, $100,000 on your contents. And you've had it for years, and it expired on October 2nd. Like that was your policy date. You can't renew it. You can be holding up, wait, I have the money. I want to do the right thing. You can't renew it. And then what happens if a storm shows up here in the next couple of weeks and your house gets destroyed? Those people are going without insurance even though they want to do the right thing. And that program is run by FEMA. And that's what Democrats are holding up in order to demand $200 billion in money to give health care to illegal immigrants. Make no mistake, we only want the government open for 7 weeks to finish the budget. They've said, if you want 7 weeks, we want $200 billion. The only money I'm interested in giving to the only money I'm interested in giving to illegal immigrants is the money to buy a plane ticket to get home, not to give them health insurance.
What are you hearing in the halls of Congress? I mean, are we getting any closer to a deal? Is there any signs that one side is?
There's no deal, but that there's nothing to negotiate because we didn't put anything in the continuing resolution. We didn't say we want a continuing resolution.